Good morning. Welcome to God's Grace on Thee. Today is Sunday. It is the 21st of July in 2024, and it is now 8:43 a.m. here in Reno, Nevada. It is a beautiful 79 degrees and sunny, and I'd like to do a reading from the Phoenix Journal 017. It's called The Naked Phoenix. How, who, why, where, what, and when the bird was plucked. Let us begin. The subject of this journal is the Federal Reserve System and the Federal Reserve Banks. And this is one most important deception and subterfuge ever foisted upon the world. It actually is only the conduit through which the conspirators have perfected their plan. The journal would be 10 times this length if we unfolded details, but while we would be unfolding, you would be consumed. Let us please take the information, confirm it if you will, and allow us to move into action. Consider the situation through the eyes of the past journals and move to shelter yourself in protection of your assets as well as possible, and then reach out, my friends. There are daring groups already established, and as they become privy to the whole, along with solutions as to the movement, you can move rapidly. If you can require that your country move back within the laws as projected in the Constitution, you shall again rise like the phoenix and be rebirthed as the great nation of freedom which you once experienced. It is not hopeless. This is the hope of your world, and it can come to pass in this generation upon your globe. And you begin from disadvantage, but do not be deterred by the disadvantage, for remember, the right of godness is your bastion. And if you consider the alternative of enslavement to be easier and appropriate, think again. The plan is to enslave you in every manner you think of in your nightmares. If you act, and even though the road be rough, you have the promise of prevailing. If you quit, and by the lie, you are finished. It is time to stop laughing at the antics of your politicians and get your government back under your control, and do it now. You most certainly can if you join together in unity and simply refuse to allow further. Oh yes, they plan to come down hard. The unlawful laws are written every day. Now, and even your head of the Federal Reserve is touting need for a constitutional amendment to balance the budget. That means you are on home stretch to the convention and replacement of all your rights through lawful installation of the new Constitution. Provisions for balancing the budget are well laid forth in the Constitution as it now stands. The conspirators are depending upon the masses of citizens to be misinformed or uninformed and plan to sock it to you before you wake up. Just yesterday, 7/11/90, a new set of small laws came forth which will increase the number of crimes eligible for capital punishment, including crimes into the listing of crimes, which prior attention was not given, and include treason as a high-level crime. Well, what does that mean? It means anyone speaking out against the behavior of your government will be incarcerated or executed. It will be the end of freedom of speech. Your Bill of Rights has been assassinated effectively, as you now function under the assumption of the new Constitution. And why do we focus on America? Ask our brothers and friends in other nations. Because as America falls or stands, so falls or stands freedom in your world. It is the last bastion with ability to recover control of itself. All other nations have been swallowed by the dragon, and Americans only have their toes remaining from out of the teeth. Yes, there are things you can do to take action, and we have laid them forth. Will it be easy? No. You will need to start at home, in the community, and unify and get rid of the thieves and conspirators which you continually send back to be wardens of your prison and robbers of your property. They too are vulnerable to the nuclear bombs and confiscation. They just have forgotten as much. And your senator is as physically mortal as are you, and will die as quickly and suffer as greatly from the collapse which is coming. Preparation? You have all but waited too long, but you still have time while the elite vie for position to see who will outdo who and gain the ultimate control. The messages, unfortunately, of the prophecies tell you what that will be, and those ones will bring devastation of physical nature, not just glean all property and wealth. In for a hard time? Yes, but also a wondrous time of unity, brotherhood, and freedom from boredom and degradation, as fed to you by the silver spoons of the puppet masters. For your confirmation, look around you and see that you are fed not in the press. The media of any kind is rerun lies and half-truths to deceive you and distract the population. And beware of those who will tell you all you need to do is raise your vibrations and someone somewhere sometime will come and save you. No, there will be no one except self to save self from anything. We can assist, but you will do of the saving if it'll be done. Then ones will tell you, God would not participate in things of Caesar's. You and all things created are God's. Caesar has only stolen that which is God's. Where else would God be except with his creations in time of need? You have asked for help, and help has been sent. And what you accept or do with it is truly your own free choice. It is the only freedom left to you. And I suggest you ponder that most carefully and choose well indeed. Which will it be, citizens of the world earth, freedom or enslavement? The choice is yours. For God so loves this world that he again sends his hosts and his being to show you the way. Who will see and hear? In service unto God and unto you, my fellow higher universal man, I thank you for your attention. Georgios C. Hatton. Chapter 1. Recording 2, Hatton, Monday, July 2nd, 1990, 10:32 a.m., Year 3, Day 320. Money. Money, beloved ones, is the alienated essence of man's work and existence. This essence dominates him and he worships it. And somehow it has become your sixth sense, which cannot seem to make a complete use of the other five. And there are many amusing things regarding money, one of which is at one time it was said that a fool and his money are soon parted. Well, no longer so. It now happens to everybody. The love of money is the root of evil, and one must choose in life between making money and spending it. And there is little time for doing both, so we must play the game at least as well as does the enemy. We have offered unto you that the means of barter in your world this day is money. Well, actually, more accurate would be to say that it is paper. You must put it all into perspective. It is urgent and necessary that we, too, have large sums of barter material to build our businesses and factories. But to understand how money has lost its value as a substance, you must understand how the privilege of control of your own wealth has been stolen from you and given into the hands of an elite few who now own your world. Federal Reserve. It matters not that we begin this segment somewhere in the middle of the story, for you can delve into the background of the conspirators and global planners from other journals and myriads of other documents. It does matter that you realize what subtlety has been used to lure you in and capture you as a people. And since we speak of predominantly the United States at this writing, we shall speak of your Federal Reserve Bank and system, and you will see the connection with the world bankers. The Federal Reserve Audit. Your Federal Reserve has never been audited. What good that would do is debatable, but one thing that it would do is bring the truth to the attention of the citizenry. This effort to cause an audit of the system would accomplish some things as touted, but mostly it is another game of look how hard we are trying. And as we list a few of them, get rid of your shock and open your minds for data input. The Federal Reserve is not a federal branch of anything. It is supported by the government, but it is a totally run and operated private banking corporation over which your government has no control. Even the laws affecting the banking industry are laid forth by this private system, not the Treasury Department. There are a couple of legislative bills under consideration, both of which would require an annual audit of the system, and in addition would include the making of the Secretary of the Treasury a voting member of the Fed's Open Market Committee. Now, I bet you thought surely that he was a big participant already. And the term of the Fed's chairman would parallel that of the president. And I bet you thought somehow the president had say over that one already. The Fed's budget would be published in the budget of the United States government for the current year and 2 succeeding years. And all monetary policy decisions by the Fed would be announced on the day they are made. And I would guess little hope of such a thing, since this is the most manipulative secret organization in your world today, including the Freemasons and the Church of the Vatican, etc. There is some speculation that these measures would somehow enhance popular control over the Fed's monetary decision-making policy, which until now has been strictly the prerogative of the private banking houses that control the Fed. Magic clue: banking houses that control the Fed. You see, the Fed has a monopoly over the power to create money, and it is in violation of Article 1, Section 3 of the United States Constitution, which states that Congress, representing the people alone, has that power. And there is also a third bill flopping about, which would increase the number of members on the 12 regional Federal Reserve Branch Bank Boards of Governors from 9 to 12. Now, the bill would also require that one member have a background in agriculture, one in small business, one in labor, one in consumer affairs. Now, funny thing, somehow finally noticed that these sectors of the economy are most affected by the monetary policies of the Fed and have no representation on the boards of the Federal Reserve banks. And at the current time, there is a total of some 112 members of Congress now co-sponsoring Fed audit or reform legislation, and those can be supplied to you. The sad part is that there are 100 senators and 435 representatives. So look at your odds. If nothing else, it will be confirmation of the manipulation of Congress by the cartel. And check out your congressmen and see where they stand, and then either encourage them or demand that they support these measures. At the same time, you can demand that the Constitution as written be followed. And most of congressional membership do not have the foggiest notion of what is in your Constitution. So what can you do? You can check in the appendix and find the list of supporters. Shown will be the 4 Fed audit and reform measures before the House and the Senate. In the House, H.R. 844, H.R. 3512, and H.R. 3066. In the Senate, S. 734. Check the list and see if your representatives and or senators have signed on as co-sponsors of the legislation. If not, write or call. And you may write your representative in care of the House of Representatives, Washington, D.C., 20515. The senators are at the U.S. Senate, Washington, D.C., 20510. The telephone number for the U.S. Capitol switchboard is 202-224-3121. Call this number and ask to be connected to the office of your representative or senator. I want to tell you, however, that this is such band-aid surgery as to be indeed foolish, except as to bring the problem into open acknowledgement. And your government is totally controlled by the system and enforced by your judicial branch. And you can find listings of your representatives, etc., at any local library, and for National Congress listing, you can obtain a current copy of the U.S. Congress Handbook for $6.95 from Liberty Lobby, 300 Independence Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C., 20003. And we will place a copy of the ordering information in the appendix also. This should become one of your most precious library acquisitions, and I urge you to keep it updated. I give this information on request right up front so that you can be getting your ducks lined up while you read the journal. There are other excellent books written on the Federal Reserve System, and many of which can be obtained from Liberty Library, so request a book list with your order for the handbook. The one you will enjoy the most for its absolute truth, with humor and astounding bluntness, is the one written by Eustace Mullins. Eustace will always give you names, ranks, and serial numbers. We need not give you more than enough for confirmation of truth, for others such as Eustace have already done your legwork. Dharma has had no exposure to this resource, so any who would jolt her a note of confirmation, please feel our appreciation. It is indeed hard work for our writers to work in blindness. And again, as with other subjects, I will ask if America West might make Eustace's book available in some manner, either obtain distribution or give information upon request. Thank you. We simply want to open your eyes, shake your mind into alertness, and then you will please do any background you feel necessary to convince yourselves of the truth of it. You should have listened to Jefferson. I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. Already they have raised up a money aristocracy that has set the government at defiance. The issuing power should be taken from the banks and restored to the government, to whom it properly belongs. And if the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation and then by deflation, the banks and the corporations that will grow up around them will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. Now, even after some half-century of the distractions set up for that purpose of fighting communism, the great array of anti-communists have failed to deter the rising tide of revolution. Patriotic organizations still have no real strategy for effective action because of the failure to recognize the obvious. The real enemy of the people lurks in New York and Washington, D.C. It must be realized that an elite segment of conspirators has seized control of policy making and conflict management in the United States. International financiers and industrialists in secret alliance with revolutionary forces are merging American and Soviet societies under a master plan of infiltration, subversion, and rebellion. And general reaction of the muzzled majority to increasing exploitation and oppression has been a defense of the status quo. Yet, It must be clear that a political system perpetually on the defensive is doomed to ultimate defeat. Somewhere you must counterattack, and you must do it before a new constitution replaces your foundation. The problem can be considered as basically one of inducing movement and action. Relatively few people in America are pro-communist or even socialists, and the definitions have so long been incorrect that you wouldn't know whether or not you fit into either category. And at this point in history, your democratic form of government has truly turned into the force of tyranny. Well, facts are that the revolutionaries in government have taken their own legislative and judicial rights and misappropriation of constraints, laid forth their voted-in rules, and usurped rights directly from your Constitution, granting government for the people, by the people, and of the people, and are depriving you of your God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You have long since left the one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You have cast God aside from any of your workings. You are a divided people, and there is no liberty nor justice for any. And these conspirators and treasonous retain an iron grip on your domestic and foreign policy, manipulating economic, social, and political disciplines to expand their dream of world empire at the expense of the Republic. Meanwhile, the vast majority of the Corton's definition, sheeple, both captives and targets, remain oblivious and totally calm and passive, while your very existence is decided by your deadliest enemies. This passivity is certainly in no way accidental. World government conflict managers have long realized the significance of the vast gulf between spectators and participants, and their whole strategy is geared to maximize the victim's spectatorship and minimize his participation in the struggle. So let us look at this, for it is basically a principle of behavior and was exemplified beautifully in South Vietnam. It is estimated that out of every 100 people in rural areas, 20 were actively aiding the communist Viet Cong, 40 were passively anti-communist, and 40 were neutral. That active 20 was enough to turn the country into a major battlefield, leading to ultimate defeat of American forces. Oh yes, you were defeated, aided and abetted, of course, by concealed conflict managers in New York and Washington. And what good might have come out of the Vietnam non-war? Oh, brother, so much good that you can't not imagine. Perhaps the very saving of your nation and ultimately the world. You are going to have one such as officers P. Egoscu, J. Wright, Bo Gritz, A.E. Roberts, and on, who saw firsthand the writing on the wall and the prevailing evil of the managers at full-scale work. The full measure of the good from Vietnam is yet to come to full flower, for it was when America looked up and first blinked her eyes as a nation full of sleeping zombies. Conservative attempts to influence the spectator-participant ratio have been mainly confined to vague educational programs, insipid protest, and generalized talk, none of which have been able to inspire much favorable movement. Indeed, many conservative organizations obviously regard the national crisis as a popularity contest, not a war for survival. In contrast, misinformation, disinformation, denouncements of truth, and fear has been the elite conspirators' chief weapon. Economic, political, and social coercion for maximizing passivity and spectatorship. Effective though it is, oppression is a two-edged weapon. Its application generates potential reaction. These suppressed reactions can explode with most sudden violence. Channeling anger and frustration into constructive action is the task of knowledgeable participants everywhere. The individual can do very little, if anything, to protect himself and his family until he is armed with truth and knowledge and a plan of action. In defeat of these elitists, now leading America into the twilight zone of national disaster, demands intelligent acceptance of the facts behind the crisis. And it requires courageous marshaling of resources and the commitment of motivated citizens who will take whatever action is necessary to reverse the mindless march toward dictatorship and total loss of your constitutional national rights. The solution is at home, not in Washington. You have clearly lost control of all branches of your government, and the solution to economic chaos, social rebellion, and political revolution is planned action at the county level of government to force the respective state legislators to protect the lives and property of the people. It must take place at home. In Washington, it's too late, my chelas. Political theorizing and personal knowledge of the conspiracy must be translated into practical plans and implemented at a level of government which the individual can effectively influence. American citizens, if they are to escape the socialist society planned for them, must bring their authority to bear at the point of jurisdictional decision, county and state government. And it must be done in spite of the grassroots infiltrated corruption of an unjust judicial system. No amount of agonizing or protesting to some distant congressman will change greatly the design of the elitists who seek to overthrow the Constitution and reduce Americans to the status of economic serfs on the land which once was yours. Only the individual can demand that his county official act to defend and preserve life, liberty, and property. And you must do this by a positive act, by challenging the secret government of monetary power at its weakest point, the community and county. But do write to Washington, for it puts those you elected on notice and at first will be ignored. But the handwriting will spread across the halls of government, and you will find that from community to top government echelons, the system based on evil control shall fall. Even a community board of a water district feels no need to comply longer with the wishes of the people who make in office. Oh yes, they must. You once must cease your apathy and its function as intended. The foundation is the county. Although all sovereignty originates from the states delegated a few of their powers to their common agents in Washington, D.C. However, the vast governmental powers that touch our daily lives are placed in the hands of county governments that are closest to the people. And still the effort is to control the elections by partisan backing and the pouring in of political financial bribes and undercover back-scratching. The corruption spreads like metastatic cancer throughout your judicial, political, and business circles, all attached to each other so that the secret manipulations cannot be isolated. Well, you can and must isolate them and bring them public for all to see, and it is the only way you shall stop of the malignant disease. The county must establish jurisdiction and not relinquish it from taxation right through the judicial system. It can be done and has been done. Try Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, and look at the following excerpts wherein the first steps towards independence were taken by that county on May 31st, 1775, in order to prevent a legal vacuum. First, the property tax remained in the hands of the county, which early established its jurisdiction. The people of an area thus controlled their tax assessor and their county supervisors, so that the taxing power was not beyond their jurisdiction. When the power to tax leaves the county, tyranny will then begin in the United States. Socialism or communism will be only a step away. The people of a county will be helpless as their property is taxed to the point of expropriation. Second, criminal law was and is county law in essence. That was an important safeguard against tyranny and against the political use of criminal law. Law enforcement officers, including judges, were and are officers of the county in the main or of its constituent units. Not too many years ago, even executions were also held at the county seat. Police power and criminal law are thus matters of local jurisdiction of the American system. And the third, civil law, is also county law to a great degree, enforced by local courts and by locally elected officials. The American citizen is thus, for the most part, under county government. His basic instruments of civil government are local, residing in the county, and the county is his historic line of defense against the encroachments of state and federal governments. In early America, town and county elections were properly regarded as more important than state and federal elections, and property qualifications were strict on the local level. I am not here to say that the above is perfection, and the entire government and judicial system can be lost at the level above. Note in the judicial system that admiralty courts have replaced common law at all levels. In the past, I have kept my groups of workers off the public voting lists for privacy and security, but as we move into participation at a basic community level, we must take a stand, and therefore I request that each of you now get registered in Golden Hills if possible, for you must stop the steamroller bearing down on you at that level right now, this week. To participate on any board thereof, you must be registered to vote, and we now need participation. Necessary knowledge and a plan of action enabling the individual to harness powers of county and state governments to financial and political survival will be found in this journal. May we please transform you from the spectator into a participant in this probably your last struggle for life, liberty, and property. Let us together restore the Constitution. Dharma, get away from this computer instantly. Let us pray. We forgive ourselves and our fellow men for our complacency in America in allowing this great nation to be overrun with evil. And we ask your Spirit within us to forgive us. Many times we have done nothing, while Satan's workers in their attempt to rule the world has taken away the unalienable freedoms you gave to us. O God, Aton of light, creator of the human races, King of wisdom and the one source of all, we rejoice that your Spirit lives within us. And we ask now for the hosts of heaven to come and stand against the evil forces. We ask that you, Spirit, awaken our earth-shone people to earth, to truth, and that they shall pray for this nation. We ask that all people shall begin right living according to the laws of God and creation. May each individual be empowered to make a strong stand against the lies and darkness. By working with the creative power of God Aton within us, we believe that America can once again be a shining light of truth to all the world. And we believe that this nation can be a people of right living. We believe that this has already begun. And we order now, through our God Spirit, that all evil forces on earth shall be removed and cease to exist forever. In Isu, Jesus, Emmanuel, Sananda's name, that they not hinder any longer our battle for freedom and truth. and we give the lighted realms permission to assist us in making this so. We ask for your protection as we confront evil. We ask for your courage and wisdom as we act, and we ask for your power to accomplish our mission. May our original Constitution and our Bill of Rights be so reestablished in the Republic of the United States of America, and may the laws of God and the creation be established as the supreme law of this land. And may we again become one nation under God with liberty and justice for all. We walk in faith, believing that this shall be done. Fill this land and our world with your spirit of love and hope and peace and joy. This is our prayer to our God Spirit within us, to God, Aton of Light. And we pray this in the name of Isu Jesus Emmanuel Sananda, and in heaven's sequence. Not our will, O God, but in all things let your will be done. So be it.